Welcome to Socially Served. I'm your host, Frank SROKA. And as you know, Socially Served was first conceived for you, the consumer, so you can make informed decisions. Today with us in our studio, we have Jacob Cohen, and he's the Vice President of Accessibility and Implementation, and with the Daniels Corporation. And we're going to speak to Jacob shortly after this commercial break, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back, Jake. I'd like to welcome you to our show. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
No, it's our pleasure. When I first sort of came across an article in our local newspaper regarding the Daniels Corporation and sort of this whole emphasis on accessibility, and it's really captured me because here was a builder that was kind of talking the talk and being involved in the community and accessibility. And it was such a pleasure to have you come on board to speak to us about this initiative with the Daniels Group and accessibility. And I just kind of wanted to know a little bit more of how this vision started. Maybe you can give me
Sure,
some
no
idea.
problem. Yeah, over many years ago, my department, the Project Implementation Department, we had the ability to meet with a lot of different new purchasers, new homeowners for our condo buildings that we're building. And what we continued to find is we continued to get people coming to us looking for different accessible designs and changes to their units. And what we found was it was very difficult for us to make those changes as the buildings were under construction or partially done or almost all done. It made it very cost prohibitive and very challenging for us to accommodate some of those needs. And we felt that was a real issue for us because we wanted to accommodate these issues or these needs that people had. So what we ended up doing is we conducted what's considered what we called a roll-through, where we had a colleague of ours come and join us to roll through one of our condo buildings, starting with just the amenity space, to have a look and see where we were deficient. And what we found is we were very deficient in a number of areas. There's building code, and then there's what is just better for overall universal accessibility.
Right.
And that's what we were going for, is trying to be better in overall universal accessibility for not only people who have mobility devices or use mobility devices, but for people who are maybe pushing a stroller and have groceries in their hands or have a baby strapped to them and don't have their hands free, where the electric strikes and where the auto door openers that they can use. What are the concierge desks looking like so that there's more modest and understandable interaction between the concierge and someone who's wheeling up to them? Does it have to be so high? Can it be lowered down a little bit? So these were some of the things we like to think about right off the bat.
So when you're saying a roll-through, so was this someone actually in a wheelchair that was...
Yes, it was. That's correct. We partnered with a group called Stopgap Foundation.
Very familiar with them.
Okay,
yes.
and Luke Anderson helped us with that, and Luke was amazing. He showed us some pretty incredible things in our common spaces, in our common areas of our condo buildings where we could do better and we needed to do better. And from that, we started to create a checklist of here are the items that we need to address in our common amenity spaces that we need to make our buildings better.
Mm-hmm. And so you're also looking ergonomically too, as our population gets older. we're going to need more requirements too as that age group starts to get older, and there's issues in terms of the physical barriers and ergonomic dexterity barriers. So that has to be addressed. So actually, this is a smart way to look at what the need in the community is as the population gets older. For persons with disability barriers, you're accommodating them, and that's amazing.
Yeah, we decided that we needed to do more than what building code was. We needed to think about going over and above that. What we found was that the common areas was one place, one start, but then we had Luke and Stopgap do a roll through of our actual units themselves, and that was eye-opening again, because we realized that there is building code again for units. What does a barrier-free unit look like? But then barrier-free unit doesn't necessarily have a roll-in shower or grab bars or a fold-down seat. All these things that seem like very standard elements that should be part of a barrier-free unit. So that's where we created the Daniels Accessibility Design Program.
Good. And you can tell me a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So it was specific to the units themselves, where we identified about 7 to 10 specific items in the units. The shower is one item. Direct access to your balconies. Roll-out access. So no lip, no step. We want direct access, so someone using a mobility device can get access to the outdoor space, which can be very important for someone who's living in a condo building and doesn't have direct access to a garden in the back or to a backyard or a front yard. Clearances seem like the very basic things. Doorways and within the kitchen themselves, underneath the cabinets for your sink to be able to roll in and make sure you can get access to your sink. And those were a number of the features that we said these are just standard in the Daniels Accessibility Design Program that we're going to include in a number of our units going forward.
So basically retrofitting a lot of the accessibility units. Now, what about common areas like rooftop terraces or recreational areas?
Absolutely. So we, like I mentioned before, we started with the common areas. That's where we started to address the needs, making sure in the amenity spaces themselves there was enough room for people to move around properly in the amenity space, where there was kitchens or kitchenettes, the ability to prepare food in a proper way. So the amenities we're definitely addressing, all the way to locker rooms. So locker rooms, you're carrying stuff to a locker room to put away because you don't have enough room in your condo. What about an electric auto door opener on that locker room door, or a garbage chute door? Where otherwise you have to turn and try to push it in, why not put an auto door opener on those as well? So we've identified a number of things within the common area spaces and then a number of items in the units themselves to create a full package. Just to clarify, these are for new buildings.
Right.
We're doing this going forward on our new construction buildings. Going back and retrofitting, that would be challenging for us at this point in time, but for our new buildings going forward, that's our program.
Right. So what about the new buildings? Where are they being built now?
So we have two that are under construction right now. One of them is in Mississauga, and it's called the Wesley Tower. This is right near City Center in Square One. So that one went into the ground in construction 2 or 3 months ago.
Great.
And we're expecting occupancy for that one probably in early 2020. And then the second one is in Regent Park, a building called Due East. And that one went on sale in October and just started construction just about a month ago.
Wow.
And again, same thing, occupying in middle of 2020, where in both buildings there's going to be a handful of these accessibility designed units. So far we've sold 14 of 24 that we designed in both the buildings. So great start to the program.
Great. And that's what I was going to ask you too. So there's a certain component of units that are accessible then.
That's correct. We've identified 24 units to start with in the buildings, and those are the ones that we're going to be doing these specific features that I mentioned and I touched on before. Those are going to be the ones that are going to be the ones that we're going to follow through with, regardless of if we have someone buying them today, or it may take a little bit more time to sell them all, but we're totally okay with that. It can be a little longer, a little closer to the occupancy date. and if someone buys it a little later on, that's okay. But if they buy now, they have an opportunity to do custom upgrades and custom changes to their unit as well. So that was a big component for us, is that we are doing these 7 to 10 accessibly designed features in the units, but we found that in talking and meeting with people with accessibility needs, that all the needs can be different and very unique to each person's specific environment. So with our decor programs, we're able to allow people to specialize and customize even more over and above just the design features that we're including in the unit.
Great. So when did you have like a focus group that you kind of conducted sort of to get some feedback in terms of how to develop these units, or what was involved with that?
We definitely, we relied a lot on learning from people who have come to us and said, these are the things I'm looking for.
Okay.
So we did that, and we've been collecting that data over about 5 years, 5 to 7 years actually. And then over and above that, we went and engaged with some actual professionals in the industry. A group called Accessibility Advantage are helping us with our design of our units and actually programming the units and how they work. And my colleague Stephanie Bonnick, she's working with them on a daily basis when it comes to the unit design. And Accessibility Advantage also is working with us on the common areas as well. So they have a full scope for our units and our buildings going forward to make sure we're meeting the that right standard.
Oh, that's excellent. And when you're saying programming, what do you mean by that, programming?
Well, I'm talking about how does the unit function? Where should the kitchen be in relation to the bedrooms and in relation to where the hallways are, meeting the width needs that we want, the clearances that we want, the bathroom sizes that we want. That type of programming requires thought, because we're trying to put that into an actual floor plate and build a full building that's going to work. Exactly. So it has to be it has to be thought through all the way from the very beginning.
Okay. And this is in the design as well as in the initial inception of the design for the building. This is all considered. That's
the most crucial part of all of this, is that we're doing it at the design stage.
Wow.
We're not waiting until after the concrete is poured, because then it doesn't work. We're doing it at the very beginning with the architects, with the designers, telling them this is the standard program that we want to include. This is how the features should look in the unit themselves, and build that in right away. And actually our team is creating a bit of a handbook or a guideline that will say this is the Daniels guideline, and we'll be able to roll that out and say this is our standard for these type of units, and this is how we want to move forward with it.
So this is exciting.
It's great. We're thrilled with it. It's been very good. So great response so far.
Excellent, excellent. So we'll be right back after this commercial break, and we may have actually a clip on one of the virtual tours from the Daniels Corporation Group on one of these units, right? Great. So we'll be back right after this message. Don't go anywhere. Hi, I'm here with Stephanie with the Daniels Corporation, and we're here to talk about accessibility and design in our new facility that they will be constructing. And Stephanie, thanks for joining me on this episode.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, I just wanted to maybe talk to our viewers a little bit about accessibility and design when actually building a condominium unit. Maybe you can help me with that.
Sure. So what we've done is we've introduced a number of units that are fully accessible for people using wheelchairs. And we thought that was really important because the barrier-free code doesn't really get there. When we're building barrier-free units, we've noticed that people who are using wheelchairs aren't actually able to use their showers, and they're not even able to use their balconies.
Right.
So one of the things that we've introduced in this program is to create a swing door with a roll-out balcony, and to create larger spaces in the bathroom so that people can actually roll into their shower, and they have adequate transfer spaces between their showers and their toilets.
Excellent. Okay. And so then that way, I guess, in terms of doing daily living chores or being more accessible in their units, it's just more easier for their lifestyle as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we've also tried to introduce side-by-side washer dryers where possible. Typically in a condo, you'll have a stacked washer dryer. Right. But we know that it's much easier to use the washer and dryer if they're side-by-side for someone who's in the seated position.
So a lot of thought and planning has gone into this.
Yeah, definitely. We've actually engaged a consultant called Accessibility Advantage, and they are experts at building accessible buildings and accessible units. So they've given us a lot of feedback on our unit designs, and we've always taken their advice where possible.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much, Stephanie, and thank you very much to the Daniels Corporation. And we'll be right back with Socially Served, so don't go away. Welcome back to Socially Served. I'm here with Jacob Cohen with the Daniels Group, and we're talking about accessibility in building and design. Jake, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were conversing a little bit about the ideas in terms of making a unit more accessible. And I wanted to get sort of your sense of your feedback from the community. How are they feeling about this? I mean, Daniel's Group is on the verge of a couple of buildings that are going to be constructed, which is amazing. And you've talked a little bit about sort of the surveys and kind of how you kind of gauge the community's response on things. So what's the feedback like now? Can you give me a little sense of that?
Yeah, the feedback's been incredibly positive. It's been great to see that people are taking to this and receptive of it. I think the important thing for us, though, is we're starting it with these first two buildings. We're getting a lot of good information from these buildings. We're going to learn a lot from these first two where we're doing the units themselves, and then we're going to continue to evolve the program and build on it and make it even better than it currently is. I think the reality is that this is something very long-term that we're planning on doing. Good. We know this is where the demographic is going, aging demographic. We know that people who maybe need use mobility devices, or there may be people who don't use mobility devices but are thinking about the future and want to make investments in units that can help them in the future. Maybe it's for a parent 10 years from now. That's the type of thing that we're trying to work towards, and that's what has been really positive about the feedback we've received from people about it.
And that's smart. That's a smart way of doing it. And again, as our population gets older, healthcare and taking care of elderly parents at home is the way it's going. And most people don't want to go elsewhere. They want to be at home. They want to feel very comfortable in an environment that they're used to. So trying to negotiate, creating an environment for that is excellent. I think it's fantastic. So we're going to go to a clip, and I just wanted you to maybe perhaps distinguish to me a little bit about the amenities in terms of the kitchen function.
Sure, absolutely. What you'll see in the clip is you'll see a bunch of the amenities or the features in the actual design of the unit that are standard practice that we're putting into these units. And then what you'll also see is the kitchen is a fully accessible kitchen, which means it's going to have actual appliances that are fully accessible. So we're talking about a dishwasher that can be pulled out. We're talking about a stove that has a drawer that can be pulled out as well, where you can do preparation. We're talking about the counter heights being at the appropriate height for someone using a mobility device. A number of these things is what you'll see in the clip.
This is great. So we're going to see this.
You will see this right now.
Awesome. So we're going to take a look at the clip, and we'll be right back.
Introducing the Daniels Accessibility Designed Program. Daniels Accessibility Design Suites provide 34-inch wide interior doorways to accommodate a variety of mobility devices. The ensuite bathroom is designed with a porcelain tiled roll-in shower, a folding shower seat, a handheld faucet, and grab bars. The bathroom sink has adequate knee clearance for easier access to the faucet. In the kitchen, lowered countertops and under-sink knee clearance are also provided. Standard appliances include a side-opening wall oven with a convenient pull-out counter below, as well as a drawer dishwasher. Finally, a swing door with a low threshold allows for easy access to the balcony. Daniels Accessibility Design Suites. Designing possibilities, removing barriers. For more information, visit danielshomes.ca.
Welcome back. That was amazing concept there that we just saw, and it's so appreciative to have you on the show. So where does the Daniels Group go from here? What's the plans? What's the big plan?
Well, thank you for asking. Well, our goal has always been to find different and new ways have people get into home ownership. So we've always been focusing on home ownership has been a real crucial element and breaking down barriers where possible. A lot of the things in the programs that we do, we break down financial barriers. In this program, the Daniels Accessibility Design Program, we're breaking down physical barriers to allow people from a wide spectrum to have access to this type of home ownership, condo home ownership, which otherwise, without these changes, probably wouldn't be achieved. So that's our program, and our goal is to roll this out for all future Daniels high-rise buildings going forward. We're starting small, but our program is to go forward with all the buildings.
I am so impressed. Excellent.
Thank you.
Any information that our viewers need to know?
Sure, please visit danielshomes.ca for any information on the accessibility design program, and that's the best way to find us.
Excellent. Thanks so much for being on the show, Jacob.
Thank you.
And to our viewers, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time on Socially Served.